Hello, everyone. Not surprising to anyone paying attention, the peace talks is in Abu Dhabi between Russia and Ukraine, with participation from the US, resulted in precisely nothing, because even as they were taking place, there was another brutal attack on Ukraine's capital, Kyiv, that had once again cut off power to thousands and thousands of civilians in the middle of a brutal winter. Personally, I'm not surprised. We talked about this in the past, that had Russia truly desired peace, as they claim, they would have shown some gesture of goodwill. As it is, there has been no change in their military operations against civilians, except for the worse. Now, Zelensky did raise the possibility of another meeting, possibly sometime soon. However, I'm not sure whether that will take place and what they're hoping to achieve, considering that in addition to the damages to the electrical grid, this latest Russian attack had killed one person and injured 35 others, all of them civilians. And yeah, everyone involved in the talks said, they'll go back and report to their respective government. But again, what is the point? Such talks should be conducted in good faith, and that is not something that Russia is bringing to the table. The only thing we have seen from Russia so far is more attacks and demands for surrender on their own terms, not to mention additional demands to not be held responsible for all of the pain and suffering they have inflicted on Ukrainian people. As of right now, what we know about what's going on in Kyiv is that in addition to one person killed, 35 wounded, we have 6,000 buildings without heat in sub-freezing temperatures. And once again, the goal is clear. Russia is trying to wear down Ukrainian people, civilians, so that they would put pressure on their government and demand surrender. Once again, that despite the recent polls that have been conducted among Ukrainian civilians, where they basically say, no. And here's the thing. So, as I mentioned in the past, when Kyiv's grid gets struck, it's not just Kyiv. Because, first of all, of course, Kyiv is the capital. It is a big city. It has power demands. But that affects the rest of the country as well. Plus, of course, remember, just yesterday we talked about the heroic emergency crews that have been working very hard to fix the damage from the previous strike, and now they have to do it again. So far, in this particular attack that took place once again in the middle of the night, Ukrainian Air Force counted up 396 aerial weapons, including 21 missiles and 375 drones. So again, every time we say, we've had the biggest attack today, they beat their own record. And once again, the thing that is felt the most is insufficient air defense systems and insufficient armor for air defense systems. Now, this is where I like Kyiv Independent, again, because they get information directly from the location where they're at. They're right there in Kyiv. I want you guys to come look at this map. So what is this map? So this is this latest attack. This is the map that was tracking all of the movements of airborne weapons at the time, including a legend that shows you which ones were which. But here's what I'm talking about when I say Russians are using occupied territories to launch and target farther into Ukraine. And all of that was pointed at Kyiv. And again, based on the latest estimates, this attack, the damage done by this attack, is going to affect 80% of people in all of Ukraine, not just people who live in Kyiv. I want this to sink in with everyone. As you look at this map, as you look at all these various weapons launched from Russian territory and from the occupied parts of Ukraine, as you look at where they ended up, so there have been obviously strikes in Zaporizhia, there have been strikes in Dnipro, plus, of course, the massive amount of strikes in Kyiv. You tell me, does this look like the action of somebody interested in peace? Or does this look like the action of somebody who is only interested in genocide? I think it's pretty obvious. It should be obvious. And once again, from purely technical standpoint, if you look at the distances, consider what happens if Russia moves any further into Ukraine. What capabilities, what range will they gain then? I want the rest of the world to think about this very carefully. More to come.